There, ready. There are iPad cases, and then there are iPad cases that actually protect your iPad. Why these two cutouts? More on that later. Is this the perfect iPad case? Not quite, but it's pretty darn close. This is the Mous iPad Pro case for the 4th gen 11-inch and 12.9-inch iPad Pros. And I'm Alex, I do down-to-earth tech reviews, and I'm here every week. Guys, I'm really excited to share this video with you because I've been wanting to test this for ages. And even though the latest one is not available for a couple more weeks, I thought I'd do a video on them anyway because I think they are awesome. Not a sponsored video, by the way. As soon as the 2021 model drops, I will be covering that too, so stay tuned so you don't miss out on that. Mous have been such a cool brand. They're giving you, my viewers, 20% off, valid until the end of August. Just use this code at checkout. That's amazing, guys. That's really good value. What's also amazing is that they made their team available to talk to me and go over the details on this product. That's really cool, and I'll share what I can later in the video. So rather than the usual me just saying this is a great case, buy one, at least now I can give you a little bit more detail of the intricacies that go into the design of this case and the reasons behind each of the features. And hopefully that makes for a much more interesting video for you. And I hope it answers some of the questions that you might have as well. I know I enjoyed learning about the design process, what goes on behind the scenes in their research and development, so I hope that comes across and that you enjoy it. Not only that, guys, I told Mous I didn't have the iPad Pro 2020, so you know what they did? They sent me one. I have to send it back. Maybe. So big shout out to Remy and Az, who spent a lot of time with me going over my questions and the details of the product. What makes the Mous case special? If you have a Mous protective case for the iPhone or the S21 Ultra, you could think that it's just a bigger version of that. And to be honest, that is what I used to think as well. Mous' whole ethos and the reason they came into the market initially is because they saw these beautifully crafted cases with little protection, or super protective cases that looked like a tank. So they came in trying to find a middle ground of protection and style. And a third very important point as well, which for me is probably the most important one, is functionality. Functionality is key in all of their products, and you will find lots of good examples of this. They added magnets to the Limitless products, for example, so that you could use it in many different situations, and that is definitely true here with this iPad case as well. The Apple Pencil still magnetically attaches to the case, so it's not just a holder, it actually does what the Magic Keyboard does in that aspect. And they made it really convenient by having these multiple viewing angles as well, which is really cool. But taking the protection that they've got on the smartphone and bringing that same level of extreme protection and style and functionality to a much larger device like the iPad is a lot harder than they thought. And the guys were telling me that even their product team didn't realize how hard it would be to achieve that same level of extreme protection for the iPad. The main problem they were trying to resolve was something called torsion. We're getting fancy with our words here today, guys, but don't worry, we don't need an engineering degree or anything. Essentially, it's what happens when you drop a kind of a flat and thin item and it hits the ground. It sort of twists, and that is what breaks the device, of course. The larger the device, larger the torsion. This is where on the smartphones they've got the raised lips, you know, that they come in, for example, on the iPhone and the S21 Ultra. You can see that they've got raised lips on the corner to help with that torsion. The thing is, that same principle can't be applied to the iPad because the raised lips would have to be like centimeters high for it to be effective. So they had to innovate to solve that problem. They had to come up with something different. How did they do it? There's three key design areas from what I can tell. One is using rigid materials, the other one is aerofoam, which I'll show you in a minute, and the third one is the folio itself, you know, the cover. In their design, Mous have built this extremely rigid fiberglass backplate, and that's why you see this extra cutout here. The backplate is so rigid that they added this to make it easier to get the iPad out of the case. With this, it makes it really easy to remove it. Yes, they could make the case less tight and less rigid, but that wouldn't make it so protective. So kudos to Mous for really thinking out of the box here and adding that second cutout. And because this backplate is fiberglass, it means it's very light and they're not adding any extra bulk. Genius, really. Really cool. This is not the thinnest of the cases, but if you're like me and you care about protection, this is the one for you. The second really cool protective element is the aerofoam, this soft foam that they've got here. Mous took their learnings from Aeroshock, which they use on their smartphone cases, and further developed that for the iPad. Because for the iPad, Aeroshock alone, which is just around the corners here on the edges, wasn't going to be enough, wasn't going to cut it. It's very similar to Aeroshock, but here comes a bit of physics now. Aerofoam is made with a non-Newtonian fluid, so it's technically a liquid, but under stress, when you drop it basically, the viscosity changes on it. Mous call it intelligent molecules, and sounds a bit like a marketing gimmick, but these molecules, when they experience that shock, they gather and they form these hydrogen bonds. Bruh. And basically that's what consumes a lot of the energy from the fall. It makes it go from this soft malleable foam to a very hard shell, which is what adds that extra layer of protection. And the coolest thing about this is that after that shock, it goes back to normal. So it's not like it will protect your device once and lose that protection. You should be able to drop it again and again if you're clumsy like me, and the foam will still be as effective as it was the first time you dropped it. Before we talk about the third design feature of this case, just a quick reminder guys to subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and if you're finding this video useful, give a thumbs up because that really helps the channel. Especially being a small channel, every single thumbs up and subscription really counts. So I have produced about 100 videos now and I had a ton of fun creating them, and I hope you like my stuff. So let's crack on with the video. So the third key design aspect is the folio itself. It's obviously the bit that folds on top of the screen. Here's where I have two different opinions. Their folio is really well lined. It's got this lovely microfiber material, which is really like velvety feel to it. The good news with Mous iPad cases, if you're like me and you don't want to use a screen protector, provided that the folio is closed when you dropped, the screen should be protected. Of course, if it's a large fall or you run over with a car or whatever, of course the screen will still shatter. But so for that 100% protection of the display, you might want to put a screen protector in it. My opinion changes slightly for the smaller iPad. I think for the smaller iPad, if you can get a decent enough screen protector that doesn't interfere with your main usage, then that's great. And Mous have a great screen protector as well, with my 20% off if you use Alex20 at checkout. It's a great deal. But personally, for the larger iPad, the 12-inch iPad Pro, I really wouldn't use a screen protector with it. That's just my preference, by the way. Mainly, I think because you're paying extra for the larger display, and having something stuck to it is ultimately reducing that quality. But it looks like my opinion is not the most popular. I put a poll on my community tab a couple of days ago, and the result was that most people do actually want that 100% protection. Out of about 300 of you, 50% want that extra protection, 35% of you are a bit like me and prefer not to have it, and 7% also want the protection, but they like the paper feel to it, so they go for something like paper-like. And 9% or so don't really care about tablets. And when it comes to the 2021 iPad Pro, I think that a screen protector would reduce one of the main features of the new iPad Pro, which is that beautiful Liquid Retina XDR display, right? You paid extra for that, and putting a screen protector sort of lessens that a little bit, in my opinion. But I do understand that some people may not care about that and either want that extra protection, or they might want those protectors that resemble paper. That's not for me, so I can't really comment on that too much. On this 11-inch iPad Pro here, there is a Mous screen protector, and the experience is great actually. Does it take away from the feel of the display? Yes, a little bit, but only marginally. But let's put it to the test and drop it and see what happens. Just setting this to record now, and we're gonna drop it from about 1.5 meters, which is the distance that most people would drop it from. Let's see. Okay. Oh god, here we go. It's about there. Ready. Oh my god. It's about there. Ready. Oh my god. And still working, no problem. Everything as it was, no cracks. As you'd expect, a bit of a scuff on the case, but that's about it. Very impressive, right? Fitting it in is very tight, so I'd recommend turning off the iPad before doing this, or be prepared, you're going to create several random screenshots of your home screen. There is a good reason though why this is so tight, and it's to provide you with that extra protection and let the case absorb as much of that impact as possible. Can you use this case with the new iPad Pro 2021? Yes, but because the new iPads are ever so slightly thicker than the previous generation, it misaligned some of the cutouts. Does it still work? Absolutely, but I'd wait a couple more weeks because Mous may or may not have something in the works. What would I really like to see with this case? I like to see some of the style that we get on the smartphone cases, for example, to be replicated on the iPad. Imagine how cool it would be if we had like a matching iPad and iPhone or S21 Ultra case, with that lovely trademark mouse finish, you know, with a walnut or leather or whatever it might be. So what's my verdict? Is this case protective enough for your iPad? 100%. Is it stylish? Yeah. And I really like the style. It's not the thinnest, but I think having this rugged style and grippiness to it is more important for me, you know, than being thin. Does it add functionality? Absolutely. Some cases are just a cover and some do kind of double up as a stand, but this has multiple viewing points as well, which is great. I think in this case, the product makes the iPad more usable without getting in the way of the design features like the pencil attachment, for example. Could it have more functionality? Yeah, I think it could do with maybe a sleeve for card holders, for example, but that's a minor thing. I am reviewing other cases on the channel and some that go well together with the stand as well, like this one here. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. I'll see you and your smiling faces on the next one. Bye.
She get to the cash when she walk. She look like a bad when she walk. She get to the cash when she walk. She look like a bad when she walk. Girl, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it.